What's going on YouTube? For those of you who want an Atlas but you don't need all that space, the Cross Sport was made just for you. And just like the Atlas 3-row, the Atlas Cross Sport has got some big changes for 2024, inside and out and under the hood. So is this Atlas Cross Sport a discount Audi Q8? Let's go ahead and find out. Alright, so we got to start out here under the hood, and we do have one new engine replacing the two previous engines. This is going to be a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, 269 horsepower, 273 pound-feet of torque, which is actually going to be just 7 horsepower less than the previous V6 and more torque than that previous V6.
All models are going to have an 8-speed automatic transmission. You have the option between front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, and your fuel economy is bumped up this year to 23 combined with front drive or 22 combined with all-wheel drive.
Now, of course, what you really want to know is how does this perform out on the road, and we're definitely going to test that out later on in the video. We're also going to get things like our signature sound level reading, but first, let's close up the hood and take a look at all the things that Volkswagen has done to the exterior design. Now, like we said at the introduction, this is a heavy refresh, and Volkswagen has changed a good deal when it comes to the exterior design of this Atlas Cross. First of all, you're going to notice an updated version of their grille. It's a quite large grille. It goes all the way across the front end design. And here with this fully loaded model, we have the SEL Premium R line. With R line, you're going to get the gloss black finish that goes all across this grille, as well as the gloss black finish down here on your lower fascia. I do want to point out some differences between differences between the regular 3-row model and this Cross Sport is going to be that you do not have the off-road capable Peak Edition offered. Now let's take a look at our headlights. These are very premium headlights, guys. We have standard across the entire lineup, projector LED headlights with adaptive abilities. We also have an LED daytime running light, LED turn signal indicator, and if you choose anything except the base model, you're also going to have this new light bar that goes all the way across the front and also includes a lighted version of the Volkswagen emblem. Now, as we move around to the rear design, this is where we really start to get that Audi Q8 vibe. You can really see that sloping roof effect that's going on back here with the Cross Sport model. And of course, it does also get the same kind of 2024 treatment as the 3-row.
Yeah, now that we have the updated 24 taillight design, I think it looks even more like an Audi Q8 than it did before. But Drew's going to go ahead and hop inside, and we're going to see if all the elements of this taillight are LED. We have an LED brake light, LED reverse light, and LED amber turn signal indicator. So 3 out of 3 elements are LED. Certainly no complaints when it comes to this taillight design. It looks very premium. It looks Audi-esque, that's for sure. This comes on SE Tech trims and above. So as long as you choose anything but that very base model, you're going to get this nice taillight design. Also, it's worth noting the Volkswagen logo is illuminated back here in a nice red color. Now, dropping down to this lower area, it's going to have a very aggressive diffuser. It's going to be more aggressive than the 3-row version of the Atlas, and that's, of course, to make it look sporty and all that, and I do like the way it looks. Additionally, we're going to have faux quad exhaust outlets on this Atlas Cross Sport in its premium SEL R-Line trim level, and then we do also have a 5,000 pound tow rating, so your tow rating is not affected at all by switching to that 4-cylinder model.
As far as your wheel choices for 2024, they are going to be updated this year. You start out with 18-inch alloys and you work your way through to 20 and 21-inch alloys at the very top end model. These are very nice looking wheels, and I think this is really one of the biggest elements that gives you that kind of Audi-esque design because they're so large and have such a nice contrast look to them. As we move on up, you do have dedicated Cross Sport branding. And in terms of our mirrors, you have standard heating, standard blind spot monitoring with rear cross traffic alert, and if you want power folding, you can get that, but you have to choose the top end trim level.
Now here at the side of the Atlas Cross Sport is where, of course, you notice that this is not quite as big as the 3-row version of this vehicle. It's 195.6 inches in overall length, which does mean it's about 5 inches shorter than the Atlas, but honestly, that's a pretty darn good size for this segment of vehicle. It's one of the larger offerings in the segment, and here at the side, of course, you can really notice that sleek, coupe-like SUV design theme that I really like the way it looks. Now, as far as your safety systems, here's something I really want to talk about, because Volkswagen is including all 4 of your active safety features as standard equipment on the Atlas Cross Sport. That is, of course, new for 2024. It used to be broken up between the different trim levels, and now all of them are going to have those features. And that wraps up the stylish exterior design of this Atlas Cross Sport. But
if you're new here, we're brothers, and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We may be young, but we love cars.
And we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family. Let's learn a lot, have some fun with all the latest cars.
Now let's go ahead and move on to the interior. First, we'll take a look at our key fob. This is a new Volkswagen key fob, really nice looking. Golf finish in the gloss black, looks very Audi-esque. Smart entry is standard, remote start comes on all but the base model. And you get inside, just grab behind the handle, and that will unlock the door. Now take a look at the interior. There's actually more different about this part of the vehicle than with the exterior. And the first place we're going to start off with are the seats. So you do have a standard VTEX leatherette seat. Once you get to the SEL trim level, that's where you'll get real leather. But if you want this premium seat you see here, this is going to require the SEL premium model. That has the diamond quilting. It looks really, really nice. I love the way that these seats are designed. You have the white piping down the sides. We also have a blue perforation down through here. It looks really, really nice. And you have more color choices with the Cross Sport than you do the 3-row option. So you have the choice between a dark beige, cinnamon, this black with blue, or you can also get chalk. Now in terms of the seats themselves, 10-way power adjusting seats will be standard across all trim levels. 3-person memory starts on the SEL. But let's go ahead, climb inside, and take a closer look at the details. Now once inside of the cabin, Volkswagen really spent a lot of time making this a more premium environment. So let's start with those material choices. Over here with our door trim, we have a leatherette running through here with the stitching detail, perforated leatherette and more stitching through the center, and along the top it is going to be soft touch. Now as we move to the upper dashboard, you're going to have a soft touch plastic, and here in the center you're going to have a really nice looking faux carbon fiber trim. This is actually another difference from the 3-row version of the Atlas, is that you have different trim pieces to choose from, including a faux carbon fiber. We also have more leather through the center of the dashboard, and you have leather trimming the console with the piano black. Well, let's go ahead and start it up with the push button start. Now once the vehicle is fired up, we can also look at the other big change from the 2023 model. That's going to be upgraded technology. First off, we have the gauge cluster front and center with the driver. It's going to be a 10.25 inch gauge cluster. It is running the newest version of Volkswagen software, so you can reconfigure this a lot of different ways by clicking the view button, all these different designs, different types of functionality. It's really, really nice. We also have a head-up display that's going to require the SEL trim level and above. Now as we pull back to the steering wheel, since we have the R design, we've got the special R design steering wheel, or R line, excuse me. It is flat bottom down here at the bottom. It is going to be leather wrapped, manual tilt and telescoping, and then the really impressive part is that we have steering wheel heating as standard equipment on all the trim levels for 2024. Next up, let's turn over here to our storage. So even though this is a 2-row model, it actually has exactly the same storage as the 3-row, including a very large center console with felt lining at the bottom and a USB-C. Storage in front of that, 2 cup holders, large storage area, and a standard wireless phone charging pad. And then one of our biggest changes is going to be this right here. We have a large pass-through where you can stick just about anything down here. Very versatile and a big improvement over what we previously had. That's made possible by the switch to this new electronic shifter. So as you can see, this is a very small shifter, doesn't take up much space. Of course, you're just going to press back for drive. You do have paddle shifters on the steering wheel. Press up for reverse. And when you go into reverse, if you have the fully loaded SEL Premium R line, you will get this 360-degree camera system. This does also include the automatic parallel and perpendicular parking abilities if you want to use that. And then just press the P for park. Your electronic parking brake is located right behind that. As we move on up, the next place we're going to come to is kind of this main cluster. You'll notice this doesn't really look anything like the 2023 model, and that's because Volkswagen has now adapted to a touch capacitive climate system. So this is a dual zone climate control setup on all models. You make your adjustments just by sliding on these touch sensitive tiles on both the driver and passenger side. If you want additional climate functions though, you will have to press that button right there. That's going to give you the ability to manually control your fan speed, and it will also bring up the menu where we can highlight another cool standard feature. Standard 3-stage heated seats, okay, but we have 3-stage standard ventilated seats as well. That is very rare for this segment. Most models are going to require you get the fully loaded one, and you can get the base one with the ventilated seat settings. And now we are back here with the main display, the other big tech improvement. So this is a 12-inch display. It has this new kind of floating design with the latest Volkswagen group. Right now we're in the wireless Apple CarPlay system. You also have wireless Android Auto. And if we go back to the main system, you'll see it does have a totally different look to it. New home screen. Everything is going to be pretty nice and responsive. Honestly, pretty impressed by that. If you choose the SEL trim level, at least that is going to get you this built-in navigation system. And by the way, this SEL Premium R-Line does come with a 12-speaker Harman Kardon sound system to replace the previous Fender model. Now, up top, before we go to the mirror, I want to point out HomeLink universal remotes are actually built into this infotainment system right there, because the mirror itself, while auto-dimming, just doesn't have the controls up there. And then when we get to the roof, I can swipe back like so on this touch-sensitive pad, and that's going to open up our panoramic sunroof. This is going to be standard on the SEL trim level and above. You can also option it on to the SEL technology, and of course, the front portion does open up.
Now, even though this isn't the 3-row version, you probably do really care about what's still in the second row of this car. And I have to say, there's a lot of space and a lot of comfort going on in this Atlas Cross Sport. Now, excuse me, wow. Now, as far as the space figures are concerned back here, we're looking at 40.4 inches of leg room, 37.8 inches of headroom, and as far as how that compares to the Atlas 3-row, it's going to be a little bit less headroom. Of course, you would expect that because we do have that kind of sloping off roof design, but the leg room is actually larger spec-wise, and that's because this seat does not slide forward and back like it does in the Atlas. It is going to be a fixed position second row seat, and we can also recline it a really good ways to make for some epic naps. I could use one after getting up early this morning. Now, I did bring my bendy ruler to see how much space there is with the seat adjusted to Drew, who's 5'8". We're sitting at about 10.5 inches of space. That is a lot. And then as far as my feet sliding up underneath the seat, they're perfectly happy up underneath of there. Now, as far as here in the center, we're going to have standard vents. One thing you're going to notice missing from the 3-row version is you don't have climate controls for any Atlas Cross Sport model. We do have heated rear seats, though, and that's going to be included on SEL and above. Dropping down below that, we have 2 USB-C ports. We also have a household style outlet. As you can see, we have our phone charger connected to that. Comes in very handy, especially for a long day of filming. And then as far as here in the center, we have a nice center armrest with cup holders inside. Checking out the door trim, much improved for 2023. A lot nicer materials up here on the upper part. Some cool trim piecing, some perforation, leather armrest portion, and as far as the sunshades are concerned, we do have those on this fully loaded one. As far as down in the bottom, we do have a lot of bottle storage as well. Now, walking up to the tailgate on this Atlas Cross Sport, we do have a hands-free Power One on SE Tech trims and above, so just kick your foot under the bumper to open it up. As you can see, it does work quite well. Now, as far as the cargo capacity is concerned in this Atlas Cross Sport, we have a lot of it. Now, like I said, this is one of the largest 2-row midsize SUVs you can get, and that does translate to a lot of cargo capacity. 40.6 cubic feet to be exact behind the second row, and as a maximum, we're looking at about 77 cubic feet of cargo capacity for this model. That is very impressive figures. I believe this might be the largest offering in the segment, but if not one of the largest, or if not the largest, one of the largest in the entire segment. Now, as far as other features, we do have a spare tire underneath of the floor. We have little storage cubbies on the side, a 12-volt outlet. Unfortunately, we don't have any handles to fold the second row, so I'm going to have to go up there and fold it manually. And we did bring our measuring tape, so I can measure from the back of the seat back all the way to the rear of the cargo area, and we are looking at 85 inches of space, guys. That is massive for this segment of vehicle. You can fit a lot of stuff when you go to haul in this Atlas Cross Sport. The one thing I will say, though, is that the roofline does slope here at the rear, so do keep that in mind. You're not going to be able to stack up too tall in this model. Well, guys, here we are behind the wheel of the refreshed 2024 Volkswagen Atlas Cross Sport. In this test drive, we're going to talk about a lot of different things, as you can see on the screen right now, including
sound level reading. Of course, you guys really like that. We will be doing that. The first thing we got to start off with, though, is testing out the performance of that new engine with a hard 0 to 60 acceleration.
There is 60 miles an hour in the refreshed 2024 Volkswagen Atlas Cross Sport. Now, of course, kind of the big news about this vehicle is that new engine, which we've been talking about throughout this entire review, is that they changed the outside, they also changed some stuff on the inside, but really the major thing is that they have a new engine under the hood.
Yep.
So this is going to be a 2-liter turbo 4-cylinder. And it's going to be making slightly less horsepower than the previous V6. Not by much, but slightly less, but more torque. And certainly up to 60 miles an hour, this feels pretty solid. It feels pretty spiffy.
Yeah. So just to remind you what we said at the beginning, it is replacing both that low-powered 4-cylinder that previously was offered, as well as the VR6, and the power is definitely really pretty much right in line with that VR6. As a matter of fact, the 0 to 60 is going to be faster with this new engine versus the previous V6.
Yeah.
Because of all that torque.
Yeah, and even just like going up that hill right there, you certainly feel that torque, all 273 pound-feet of it, when you push down the throttle. Now, the other thing that you're going to notice is the transmission. We have an 8-speed automatic on board here. It's a really good transmission. It's quick to shift down and give you the power that you need, especially now that it's paired to a real torque-rich motor. I think it does a really good job of doing exactly what you want it to do.
Right.
Now,
and let's talk a little bit about the refinement before we move on.
That's exactly what I was going to say, yep.
We always think alike as brothers. We're on the same mental mindset. Anyways, as far as the refinement, really, really nice and refined engine. I think a lot of people are probably thinking, I'm changing in a V6 for a 4-cylinder engine. Sometimes that can be a recipe for not only having, less power, but having more of an unrefined experience. And I don't really think that's the case here. This 4-cylinder is really nice and refined. Even when Mason's sitting there flooring it all the way to the ground, it never really gets loud or super grainy, and you don't feel any vibrations or things into the cabin. Volkswagen is really awesome when it comes to making these 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engines. They're kind of the experts, and this is an engine that does have applications in Audi products, for instance, so you can kind of tell that this is a more premium engine.
Yeah, absolutely. And just kind of cruising down the road here, I do want to talk about your ride quality for the Atlas Cross Sport. Of course, that's an important part about any SUV nowadays, and we've been very impressed with it. We drove the Atlas 3-row this morning. Now we're here in the 2-row Cross Sport version, and I love the ride quality that you're going to get here. When you hit a bump, it does a really good job of absorbing it, not letting a lot of intrusion into the cabin. On this model, we have the 21-inch alloy wheels. As you can see, we're hitting some bumps here, and it does do a good job of making sure that it's not harsh or anything like that, even with the largest wheel setup, and I'd imagine it'd get even better if you did a smaller wheel size and one of the lower trim levels. And we're going to go around a corner here. Not much of one. We're here in New York. There's not the twisty roads of back home in Kentucky, but certainly I do want to talk about your driving dynamics a little bit. So something with the name Sport in the name. You might expect it to be sporty, but with this Atlas Cross Sport, they're still going to lean more on the comfort side of things with this product. It's not that it's sloppy or anything, it just doesn't have a very buttoned down feel that some of the rivals that are more sporty do. So certainly it's going to be more comfort oriented, but the steering is pretty responsive, and I don't really have a lot of complaints with it. If you compare it with the 3-row Atlas, I will say this feels a little bit smaller, which makes sense because it is a little smaller than the Atlas 3-row, but don't expect it to be like a hard-edge sports car or anything.
Right, and I will note, you do have different drive modes that you can cycle between by pushing that button. If you go into sport mode, it firms up the steering to have a little bit of a heavier feel. You can also choose a custom, which I like because you can pick some of the characteristics that you like the best in terms of that.
All right, and we're speeding up to 55 miles an hour, so we can go ahead and get our sound level reading.
Okie doke, so looks like we got 61.2 was the lowest number we achieved. That is going to be a pretty high number, but you got to keep in mind, we are here in upstate New York. We're on a press drive. We can't control all the environmental aspects, so obviously we're going to retest this when we have one back in Kentucky again to give it a more of a fair shot. What I want you to keep in mind as well is that the Atlas Cross Sport in its 2-row midsize segment was the most quiet for the 2022 model year. So I would anticipate that that's really not going to change. So it still sounds very quiet in here. It's just that these roads are really rough up here. And by the way, if you want all the latest sound level readings, there's a handy place to find it. It's going to be at www.carconfections.com.
Yep.
On our new website, we have the ability for you to check sound level readings for all segments of vehicles. We've tested out hundreds of vehicles, including all of this vehicle's competitors. You can put them in order by the sound level readings. It's a very helpful feature that you won't want to miss out on if you're interested in seeing what are the quietest vehicles out on the market. Now, you know we've switched to a turbo 4-cylinder instead of a VR6. So what is the fuel economy advantage? Well, let's talk about that. The front-wheel drive version of this is going to be rated at 20 city, 27 highway, 23 combined. All-wheel drive is going to be 22 combined. That's going to represent a 2 to 3 mile per gallon combined difference versus that previous V6, and it is basically the same as the 3-row version.
And now it is time for us to do our signature slam dunk and air ball. I'm going to kick us off with the slam dunk and just say the 2024 improvements to both the Atlas 3-row and this Atlas 2-row are very impressive to us. First of all, the outside, they've improved a lot when it comes to the overall design. I like the way that they've done the new lighting elements. And then when you get inside this cabin, it's just a lot more premium than what it was before the updated technology. You have more practicality with this pass-through center storage bin. It's just a big leap forward, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely, except for in one way, and that's going to be today's air ball. The touch capacitive controls up here. Frankly, these are things that are just a little bit fiddly. They're mostly responsive, but you just don't have access to a lot of like climate functions. For instance, you have to press a separate button to pull that up onto the display. Some of the things that just take more steps and more focus to turn up the volume because you don't have a volume knob. Definitely would just prefer to have some physical climate controls and volume knob like the last year's model had. And lastly here, the Atlas Cross Sport does have the same Volkswagen warranty as all their other models. That's going to be a 4-year, 50,000 mile basic and powertrain warranty plus 2 years of complimentary maintenance.
And let's talk pricing for this Atlas Cross Sport. We're going to start at $36,715 for the base SE trim level, which does represent a price boost over the 2023 version because we are getting that more powerful engine under the hood as standard equipment now. Butterflies. And we're also going to get more standard equipment in general in this cabin. Now, as we go up the trim levels to the top end SEL Premium R line, that's going to start at $51,445. Now, as far as this one, That is that fully loaded model, plus our destination charge. We're looking at $52,795, which honestly isn't too bad of a price point for an SUV as stylish and as spacious as this Atlas Cross Sport. And guys, that's where we're going to leave off on this in-depth review of the refreshed 2024 Volkswagen Atlas Cross Sport. If you enjoyed watching this video or found it helpful in your purchasing decisions, we would really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button down below. By subscribing, you help us to get invited to events like this where we can sample out the latest 2024 products coming to the market. So please hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. We welcome you into our Car Confections family. If you're already a part of that family, thank you so much for your continued support, because it really does mean a lot to us. And if you haven't had the chance to check out our website, go ahead and do that, carconfections.com, as well as our TikTok and Instagram pages. We'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.